Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by mountains, there lived a 24-year-old young man named Marco. Marco was very restless. His mind was always full of thoughts, like waves that never stopped. All day long, different thoughts came and went. These thoughts made him feel uneasy and tired. He always felt sad about his past and worried a lot about his future. Because of these thoughts, his mind was like a storm. He couldn't feel calm, couldn't sleep well, and had even forgotten how to smile. Sometimes at night, Marco would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, asking himself, why can't I just feel light inside? Why does my heart feel so heavy all the time? He wanted to live happily like other young men in the village, but his thoughts kept pulling him back into sorrow. One day, Marco heard a story. People in the market were talking about a faraway village in the hills. They said an old man lived there, a man who once was a famous psychologist in the city. That man had helped many people in his life, teaching them how to find peace in their mind. Now, after becoming old, he had left the noisy city behind and chosen to live quietly close to nature. Sometimes he gave advice to visitors who came to him, and those visitors returned with lighter hearts and smiling faces. When Marco heard this, a small light of hope awakened inside him. He thought to himself, maybe this wise man can help me too. Maybe he knows how to silence this storm in my mind. And so Marco decided he must go and meet the old man. The journey was long and tiring. For many days, he walked on narrow paths, climbed rocky slopes, and crossed little streams. At night, he slept under the open sky, listening to the sounds of insects and rustling leaves. The journey was not easy, but every step was carried by his hope to find peace. Finally, Marco reached the village in the hill. It was quiet, surrounded by trees and the sound of flowing water. Birds flew freely in the sky, and the air felt fresh and pure. When he entered the village, he asked the local, where can I find the wise old man? They pointed him toward a small house at the edge of the forest. Marco walked there and saw a house covered with greenery, almost hidden in nature. On the porch, the old man was sitting quietly. His eyes were closed, his posture relaxed, and his face looked very peaceful, like calm water in a still lake. Marco softly walked up to him and said, Grandfather, my mind is very restless. I cannot stop thinking. I feel sad about my past and afraid of my future. I want peace in my heart. Can you help me? The old man slowly opened his eyes and looked at Marco with kindness. His smile was gentle, almost like sunlight breaking through clouds. He said, so, you are looking for peace? Then come with me. I will give you a small task. He took Marco into his yard. From a clay pot, he filled a glass of water to the very top. The glass was so full that even a tiny shake would spill the water. Then he handed the glass to Marco and said, walk from here to the edge of the village and then come back. But remember, you must not spill even a single drop of water. Marco was surprised. That's all? He asked. But the old man just nodded calmly. Determined, Marco held the glass carefully and began walking. The road was narrow, and life in the village was busy. Some people were running. Some children were playing on the side of the street. Shopkeepers were loudly calling out to customers. Dogs were barking, and goats wandering around. But Marco's eyes stayed only on the glass. His focus was unshakable. He walked slowly and carefully, step by step. He didn't look at the people. He didn't hear the barking of the dogs. He was completely absorbed in keeping the water safe. People looked at him curiously but didn't disturb him. They knew he was learning something important. Finally, Marco came back to the old man and proudly said, Grandfather, I did it. I didn't spill even one drop of water. The old man nodded and smiled. Then he asked gently, that's good. But tell me, Did you see the children playing by the road? Did you notice the shopkeepers calling out? Did you hear the dogs barking? Marco blinked in surprise and said, "No, I didn't see or hear anything. I was only focusing on the glass." The old man smiled again and said softly, "That is the secret. Peace is not something outside, it is already inside you. But your mind is always running toward the past and the future, creating noise. When you keep your mind fully in the present moment, there is no space for fear, no space for confusion, no extra thoughts. Just like you focused on the glass of water, you must learn to focus on this moment. That is when your mind becomes quiet." Hearing this, Marco felt something shift inside him. He finally understood. So peace was always within me. I just needed to stay in the present. He bowed his head and said softly, "Grandfather, now I understand. If I want to calm my mind, I must keep my thoughts here, in this moment. That is when real peace comes." The old man placed his hand on Marco's shoulder and smiled warmly. The sun was setting, painting the sky with golden light. Birds were flying back to their nests. The air felt gentle and still. Marco turned to walk back home, but now he was not the same restless young man who had arrived here. Something inside him had changed. His heart felt lighter, his step felt calmer, and for the first time in years, a true smile appeared on his face. He had finally found the key to peace, not in the mountains, not in the village, not from anyone else, but deep within himself. Peace is always inside us. We only need to live in the present moment to discover it. So, dear friends, if you like this story, please give it a like and share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories like this one.